Well, ladies and gentlemen, it now comes to the point where we need to sum up. And it's been really an incredible couple of days. We have had the opportunity to review a wide range of different perspectives on what that future world looks like. We have talked about the role that AI will play. We've talked about the role that data will play. We've talked about when we think we'll come to grips with some of the big challenges we have today around the use of data, the use of artificial intelligence. We've talked about what we think the world might look like, what the future world will look like in 2030, 2050 and beyond. And we've heard from a range of different speakers those different issues of substance that we really need to take into consideration when we're thinking about the life of our child born during this event. Now, we tried to frame some of the conversation around outcomes, specifically 2030, the UN Sustainable Development Goals, but currently there are no outcomes frameworks for 2040, 2050, which are globally accepted, which are even nationally accepted. So that when we ask ourselves why we're doing this, it's important for us to think about the way we want the world to be. It's important for us to have those outcomes in mind as we think about all the activities we undertake in terms of use of new technologies, in terms of use of data, use of AI, and those of you who will remember Ed Santow's story about those twins born and the very different lives that they have, depending on whether or not they follow one pathway or the other. Being able to think about those uses of applications of technology which are appropriate and lead to that more utopian outcome versus those that are more dystopic and lead to really adverse outcomes. It's really important for us to have that outcomes framework to think our way into that space between absolutely we should and absolutely we should not. So hopefully over the course of the last couple of days, not only have you had a better sense of the issues of substance that we really need to think about as we move into the end of this decade and the coming decades. And it's not hoverboards and it's not jetpacks, but it's really issues around inclusion, about equity, around those appropriate decision-making frameworks. As we hold those ideas in mind, and as we think about what we're going to do on Monday, when we get back into our roles, back into our offices, back into our future, back into our existing frameworks, it's really important for us to think about the actions we need to start now so we don't sleepwalk into this future, that we are much more purposeful around what we're trying to achieve. And not only do we connect with people who are also grappling with these problems through the learned academies, but we also start to identify tools and resources and frameworks and start to work together towards addressing these problems in a more joined up way. So I hope the last couple of days have helped you identify issues of real substance, to connect with some people who are also concerned about how we move into the future, but also you've heard that call to arms that says that, in particular to the learned academies, we should work together on really big problems that we really care about, with not just the end of the decade in mind, but 2050 and beyond. Because it's worth it. Because I don't believe anyone else is doing it. And I think there's an opportunity for us to have a stronger national conversation about those issues of substance and how we're going to go about doing something with them. And so that brings us to the end. I'd like to thank all of our speakers for the last couple of days, all of our panelists. Especially like to thank the Royal Society of New South Wales for bringing us all together, the Learned Academies, the Australian Academy of Health and Medical Sciences, the Australian Academy of the Humanities, the Australian Academy of Science, the Academy of the Social Sciences in Australia, and the Australian Academy of Technology and Engineering. Also like to thank the support from the New South Wales Government and the New South Wales Smart Sensing Network. I've been Ian Oppermann, New South Wales Government's Chief Data Scientist and also Industry Professor at UTS. Thank you all very much. Thank you for spending the last couple of days with us. Thank you for your considered attention, and thank you for embracing this challenge as we move forward into the world of 2030 and beyond. Thank you.